Hi everyone, this is U.S. immigration lawyer Michael Ashoori, and in today's video we're going to talk about the K-1 visa process. We're going to go through each step of the K-1 visa process step by step. So with that said, the K-1 visa is a very powerful option for couples to be united together in the United States. Basically, the K-1 visa, also called the Fiancé visa, it allows a U.S. citizen to apply for a visa, essentially, for their foreign fiancé to come to the United States. Once the fiancé is in the United States, the couple can get married. And once they get married, the non-U.S. citizen can apply for their green card in the United States without leaving. That's a basic overview of the Fiancé visa. It's a very, as I mentioned, it's a very powerful option, but there's a lot of steps that go into this process. And a lot of people don't know the steps. So in today's video, we are going to talk about the process step by step. So the question here, the reason why you guys are here, what is the process of getting a K-1 visa? Step 1, make sure you're eligible for a K-1 visa. It sounds simple enough, but I'll tell you what I mean by this. So there's basically 4 requirements to qualify for a K-1 visa. The petitioner must be a U.S. citizen. Both parties must be eligible to get eligible for marriage, meaning that any previous marriages have been terminated. The parties should have the intent to get, both parties must have the intent to get married within 90 days of the foreign fiance's entry to the United States. And the parties, you and your fiance, should have met each other in person within the last 2 years prior to applying for the K-1 visa. So you want to make sure that you're eligible for a K-1 visa before starting the process. Typically, the things that I want to look out for is to make sure that the person in the U.S. that's applying for the K-1 visa for their foreign fiance must be a U.S. citizen. That's step 1 for making sure you're eligible. Another thing that you want to pay attention to is if you've been married in the past, make sure that all previous marriages are now over officially. And also, you want to make sure that you and your fiance have seen each other in person within the last 2 years. If you haven't seen each other in person, you can either see each other in person now before applying, or you might qualify for an exception. There's 2 exceptions that allow you to apply for the fiancé visa even if you didn't see each other in person. If you have any questions about those exceptions, at the end of this video, I'm providing information on how you can contact me directly and we can talk about it. But for now, step 1 is to make sure you're eligible for a K-1 visa. After that's done, once you've determined that you're eligible, the next step is applying. The first step in the application process is that the U.S. citizen petitioner must file a form I-129F. The I-129F is the application for the fiancé visa that's applied through USCIS. This form must be filed by the U.S. citizen. Again, it's filed to USCIS, which is in the United States. That's the first step. After that application gets approved, the next step is for the foreign fiancé, the person that's not in the United States. They need to file a DS-160. The DS-160 is the application for a non-immigrant visa, and this is what you do after the form I-129F is already approved. Then you file this form. It's just it's the next step of the process, filing the DS-160. So another point that I want to touch on with the DS-160 is that the DS-160 is when you file that form, basically you're requesting an interview where you're going to be eventually interviewed at a consulate or an embassy abroad to go through your eligibility with a consular officer. But in order to kind of request that interview, you need to file this form. Now, I'll get into more details about the interview in a bit, but just know that DS-160 is next. After that, again, as I mentioned, there's going to be an interview at some point in the future, but a couple of things that you're going to need to do are you're going to need to get a police clearance, basically showing that you don't have any criminal history in the places that you've resided. And you're also going to need to get a medical examination done by an approved physician. Those are two steps that will need to be done, and they can be done at this stage after you've applied for the DS-160. So those are important things to keep in your mind, knowing that they need to be done. Again, after the medical exam and the police clearances are completed, the next step is that you're going to go in for a K-1 visa interview. At the interview, you're going to be asked various questions about your relationship with your U.S. citizen fiancé. They may ask about when the last time you saw each other was, about your relationship. That's going to be the next step in the process, is to attend the K-1 visa interview. The interview is going to take place at an embassy or a consulate outside of the United States. Likely it will take place in your home country, the foreign-born fiancé's home country. So that's the next step. That's step 5. After the interview, after successful completion of the interview, the foreign fiancé should get a fiancé visa, a K-1 visa, affixed, stamped into their passport. Once they get the fiancé visa, it's time to proceed to step 6 right here, which is admission to the US on a K-1 visa. So you finished your interview, you got the visa stamped in your passport. Now it's time to enter the United States using your K-1 visa. That's this step, step 6. After you enter the United States, now you're in the United States, you're supposed to get married to your U.S. citizen fiancé within 90 days of your entry to the United States. So step 7 is marriage. Basically, you and your fiancé get married within 90 days of your entry to the United States. Now, after you get married, you're eligible to apply for your green card. And the way you apply for your green card is to apply for an adjustment of status. An adjustment of status is the process of going from non-immigrant status to permanent resident status while you're in the United States. To do an adjustment of status, you file a Form I-485 with USCIS. Back in step 1, when you filed the Form I-129F, that form was filed by the U.S. citizen. But at this stage, at step 8, the adjustment of status, the Form I-485 is filed directly by the foreign fiancé. Again, this is the application to adjust status to become a permanent resident, which is to get your green card. And lastly, after you file the Form I-485, there will be an adjustment of status interview. At the interview, it'll be before a USCIS officer, and they'll ask you various questions to determine that you guys have a valid marriage. They'll want to know about how you met, whether you live together. They'll ask various other questions to determine whether it's a valid marriage. And basically that's step 9, the adjustment of status interview. And those are the 9 steps to getting a fiancé visa. And even after the fiancé visa, all the steps to get your green card. So I hope you guys found this video very helpful. If you did, please go ahead and like the video and subscribe to our channel. We're regularly putting out US immigration videos. And the best way to see those videos is to subscribe to our channel. If you have any questions whatsoever, I've put my contact details in the description below. So if you go to the description below, you should see my email and phone number. And I've also included a special link where you can schedule a free telephone consultation with my office. So if you have any questions at all, we would be happy to discuss with you. Just click the consultation link, book whatever time works for you, and we'll get on a call and we can discuss. As always, thank you so much for tuning in to this video, and I'll see you on the next one.